Good afternoon, everybody. Let me take those off. Slightly less like a school teacher. It's beautiful outside. I went out for my daily exercise this morning and it must be 18 degrees out there. It's glorious. Which kind of beggars the question, why am I inside? Well, there's an image and I've seen it a few times and I've always fancied having a go at recreating it. Now, I'm not the most artistic of people I can't draw things. I'm using an image off my computer. I tried to print it out, but the works printer ran out of coloured ink, so I couldn't get it printed. But luckily, it appears to work. Just get rid of that. With it being on the computer, which is quite good. Right, this probably looks a little bit Heath Robinson'ish and a little bit bizarre. Take those off again. I've pulled my image up on my laptop and it is a sunrise shot from Cove Hythe. Beginning of last year sometime, something like that. It was a minimal shot because there was no foreground on the beach, so all I've got is a beautifully colourful sky. I've stacked my laptop on a load of magazines so that this frame on the image sits just underneath the top of the table. Now I know I've got my watermark up there, that will just get cleaned out in Photoshop. I was a bit concerned that I was going to get artifacts focusing on a computer screen, but I found that having it just slightly out of focus gets rid of that. It doesn't have to be a lot, it just has to be verging on the soft, and then I don't get any of the lines that you see when you record a TV screen. Okay, so I'm at F9. I'm shooting on aperture priority, simply because I'm feeling lazy. I've got the ISO set. I have got the ISO set really high because I was playing around. So I've dropped the ISO back down to 100. That's giving me 1/15 of a second. Let's just get focus, so I'm manually focusing. And because I'm using the macro, it is throwing the background out, which is useful. Right, so we'll do it on mirror up. That's better. Just noticed that I've got my mouse cursor showing up. Stupid woman. Let's have a look. I could have got some clean nuts and bolts as well. However, it's all work had. Yeah, I think we've got enough to work with there. And it will either work or it won't. Right, into Photoshop we go. We've whipped upstairs and I've opened my image into Adobe Camera Raw. There's not a lot really to do here. I just want to, bizarrely enough, I want to warm the temperature up a little bit, up the exposure a smidge, pull the highlights back. I'm aiming mainly to do this on the image that's the background, which was obviously my computer screen. Now this would be a lot easier if I had a photograph rather than a computer screen. Now I'm just going to tweak the oranges down slightly. Okay, open that image. Right, so there's my image. The first thing I want to do is crop the piece that I want. Now, what I'm aiming for is a reflection image, so I want to grab my rectangular marquee tool and just drag out around the part of the image that I want. And the bottom of the crop is going to be just where the nuts and the bolts are sort of sat on the table. That looks about right. Then you go up to image and crop. Click outside the image, that gets rid of your marching ants. Then I'm just going to see if I can fill in using content to where my watermark is. And actually Photoshop's done quite a decent job of that. Yep. And there's just a little bit there. There's the edge of a cloud. I'll tidy that up now. Right. So first thing to do is to get rid of that bit there. Yeah, sometimes Photoshop does a really good job and other times it struggles a bit. getting there, so this might take 3 attempts. That's better, and actually that's done a fairly good job. There's some little bits there which we could tidy up, I suppose. Just using the rectangular marquee tool, right click, fill, content aware. Doesn't look too bad. Let's just grab the clone tool. I don't want to be at 100%. It's what are we on? We're on a soft brush, 100 pixels, medium, well, 12% hardness, and opacity. I'm just going to decrease the brush size a bit down to about 30%. Just want to try and even that out somewhat, so that when I extend the canvas, it doesn't look too glaringly obvious. And by using a reduced opacity, so not a full 100% opacity, it blends a little bit better. That'll do. Now that's sort of the easy side. This side, go back to your rectangular marquee tool. This side, it probably won't like at all. Oh, actually, that's not done too bad. I'll just try that again. Let's go to plan B. Clone tool on there. Try and get that straight. There's nothing worse. Oh, you need that actually up to probably 100% opacity. Nothing worse than a wonky skyline. As I say, this is never going to be perfect because I'm using an image on a computer screen. There is probably a way where you could take the raw file, just do an image or take a photograph purely of the nuts and bolts and blend the two together, but that's a little bit over and above my my skill set at the moment. It's something I'm going to practice though. Crop tool. I want to extend the canvas up and out, and I want content aware. I want just a little bit more room, excuse me while I have a drink, around the outside, sorry, on either edge and at the top of the canvas. Yeah, that side's a bit tatty. That's not too bad. That's livable with. I think we'll just do one more. I'll stretch the crop out, which is original ratio on the crop, and then hit enter. Okay, that will do. That will do for now. Now, the next thing I want to do, I want to create a flip of the image to create the reflection. So I'm going to go to image, canvas size. I'm going to change the height to 100%. I'm going to click the top arrow so everything is facing down, and I've gone black. Lovely. Now this is the bit I will probably get wrong. Go back to your rectangular marquee tool. Yes, I need to unlock that. Rectangular marquee tool, drag out around the image. Now all I did there was I clicked on the padlock to unlock the layer. Once I've dragged around my image that I want to flip, Control and J to create a new layer, Control and T, which brings up your transform tool. Move your cursor up to the top square, you'll see the double arrow, grab the arrow, pull it down, hit enter. Not quite grabbed enough on that side, but that's fine, that'll live with that. Now that looks like a standard reflection. So working on that layer, I'm going to go to filter, blur gallery and path blur, and you can see immediately that it has put some sort of motion in there, but it seems to be side to side. I'm just going to click on speed, grab the arrow and pull it down, and that kind of makes the water move forwards and back as opposed to side to side. You might prefer side to side. There's 3 boxes: speed, taper and endpoint speed, and it is a case of playing with them, and you can see the effect that the speed has. That's the amount of blur on the water's top, on the top of the water, so you can go all the way over there. I'm not so keen on that. I want a little bit of movement, and I also want this black line. If you see buildings at the edge of the water, there is always something of a little wall or a curb so that the water doesn't flow over, or a little walkway, and I think it looks, that little black line kind of makes it look better. So I think we're going to go for, you get rid of that, it goes to white, that's no good. Go to about 86. Taper that kind. No, I'm not so keen on the movement on that one. Yeah, does weird things. So it really is a case of playing. I think we'll go for about 15%. And then endpoint speed. That's again, doesn't look very good, that does it? So just play with that until, say about there. Okay, now path blur can take some time to render. I'm lucky this PC is relatively quick. No, it does struggle with this slightly. Right, that's it. So we've done that bit. It's that long since I've been out and seen reflections in the water. I've actually been just down on the canal and the water is fairly calm. The water reflection was darker than the thing that was reflecting in it. So I'm going to try and recreate that in here. Working still on that layer, I'm going to go to filter and camera raw filter. And all I want to do, because I'm working on a layer, it only takes that layer in. I'm just going to darken that slightly. Bring the shadows down a touch. And I'm just going to drop the saturation a little bit. You might prefer to do it the other way, increase the saturation, increase the saturation, increase the exposure. It's really which you want to do. There's not really any right or wrongs with Photoshop, and there are also generally at least 3 ways to do the same thing, and I'm sure other people will have their own way of doing this. So from there, I think I'm happy enough with that. Now I just want to put a little bit more movement in this water. So I'm going to try and find my smudge tool, which is there. My brush I'm setting to 700 pixels, 0 hardness, and a strength of 3%. Now this PC really does not like this tool. And all I'm going to do is just brush over once. And then sit and wait and talk amongst yourselves while it does something. Welcome back. So you can see a very slight distortion there and a slight distortion there. And for me sins, I'm just going to put one across there. Right, so there's just put a little bit of movement into there. And I think that will basically do. So now I want to create one layer with 2 layers on it. If that makes any sense. So Alt, Control, Shift and E. These don't know Macs, I'm afraid. Alt, Control, Shift and E creates another layer, but you haven't merged anything, so you can still go back and adjust things. I'm going to take that into Adobe Camera Raw and just finish tweaking stuff. Now I want to just shovel the shadows up. As I say, this is a bit iffy because it's a photograph on a computer. I just want to tone that blue down a bit as well. And for those of you who don't have Camera Raw, who have Lightroom, you would go from Photoshop back into Lightroom to do this. That's that. I just want to tweak those. The oranges seem to have... Yeah, I want a slight amount of colour in them, but not too much. Because obviously it's supposed to be a sunrise, so you would have the morning light coming up and the sun hitting that, which has actually worked a lot better than I expected. Yeah, I think that will do. I'm going to just dehaze it slightly. Just a tweak on the dehaze. A bit of negativity on the clarity. And a bit of noise reduction. That looks about fine. So now I will just merge visible. And then we're back to one layer. Now I didn't cut that quite right, so I am just going to content aware fill that bit. So rectangular marquee tool, right click fill. It's already set to content aware. That's it, that's filled that in nicely. Now I want to get rid of this bit. I don't want the line there. So content aware fill. Now it may not like this bit. Oh, it's not done too bad at all. I only just need a little bit of tidy up. And the same on the other side. Let's just try that again. Swine. Right, grab the clone tool. Don't want 100% opacity. 24% will probably be right. Press the right button. And then it's just a case of gradually going around until you get the effect that you like. I just caught a bit of the staples there, so we'll just content away on that. Now this bit is going to take me some time to play around with, so I will just speed this up and then I'll come back to you and show you the end result. And I have a funny feeling I'm going to end up twirling this. A twirl, and I might even do an orb. Be interesting to see what happens there. Right, I will be back with you in a bit. So I've just finished faffing around with that. One useful little tool that I've just found, and it's not suitable for every image, but if you want to select or make a selection of a certain thing, such as this, it's a fairly obvious subject. If you go into select and then subject, and I've never used this before, I found it quite by mistake, hey presto, it picks out and does a fairly good job of picking out everything that you wanted to select. I'm quite impressed with that. So here we've got the image is as finished as I want it to be. I'm now going to Control and J to make a copy, filter, other, high pass just to sharpen it. My default is 2.1 pixels. I'm going to go to linear light, and then my default is normally around about 50% or so. And then flatten that image. I quite like that. The finishing touch on this would be a frame. Now there is probably a much quicker way of doing this than I'm about to do it, but to save me messing around, I'm going to go into image size, and I have got 4797 by 6026 in terms of pixels. So I'm going to File, New, and Pixels, so we've got 4797, come on, 6026. 300 pixels per inch, white, blah de blah, yeah, that. I'm going to go back into my image, select all, edit, copy, back into the blank page, edit and paste. I'm going to Control and T and do the bit that always causes me a headache. Nope. To create a frame. That's the one. Enter, then I'm going to go into FX, drop shadow. Now I have my drop shadow already checked, so it's brought one up. I'm just going to duplicate it. Just makes it slightly harsher. Just drop the opacity down a little bit. Click OK. Flatten image, and there we go. There we have one fake city skyline from a handful of nuts and bolts. So now I think I'm going to twirl it. That bit done, but now you can go a step further and you can orb this. You need to start off, go into your crop tool and go square. I'm just going to pull it in a little bit. You can do it with oblong, but it doesn't look quite so good, so I'm just going to do a square crop. I've got to remember what to do here. Filter, distort, polar coordinates, polar to rectangular. Oh, how bizarre. Image, rotation, flip vertical, filter, distort, polar coordinates, rectangular to polar. Polar. How about that? That's wonderful. Then you could go adjustments. Let's see what happens if you invert that. No, not quite so keen on that. So I'm going to invert, take that in to camera raw. it. I hope you could follow that. And if it inspires you to get the nuts and bolts out and have a play indoors, absolutely brilliant. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I will see you soon in the great outdoors.